Benvenuti al Tavolo Italiano. Today we're talking about conjugating regular Italian verbs in the congiuntivo imperfetto. Few footnotes before we start. This lesson assumes that you already know how to conjugate verbs in the congiuntivo. You will also need to have a general understanding of the imperfect tense. And as with all other tenses, there are verbs that are irregular. These will be addressed individually elsewhere. You can find more information, exercises, etc. at iltavoloitaliano.com. Like any aspect of the Italian grammar, it takes practice to really gain an understanding of and ability to use what you'll learn here, so parli italiano. Pronto? Okay, let's get started. The congiuntivo imperfetto, or imperfect subjunctive, like the present subjunctive, is actually very easy to learn as far as the conjugation patterns, but can also be difficult for the native English speaker to understand when to use it. When studying the congiuntivo, or the subjunctive, we learned that it really isn't a verb tense, but a mood, which explains why we can have the present subjunctive, the imperfect subjunctive, the past subjunctive, etc. To quickly review, let's look at the following. What is the mood? What is this mood? Meaning the subjunctive. It is the use of a verb in a subjective expression. Okay, what does that mean? The website, audioenglish.net, defines subjective as taking place within the mind and modified by individual bias, of a mental act performed entirely within the mind. In other words, if I said, he ate meat, there's nothing subjective there, nothing taking place in my mind. It simply means he ate meat. But if I said, I thought that he ate meat, now it is subjective, because I am stating that according to a thought in my mind, he ate meat. Note in this lesson, I place this example in the past tense. This is the same example we gave in the other lesson where I had it in the present tense. In this particular lesson, we'll be studying how we make the subjective expressions or expressing what is taking place within our minds and or tainting a statement with our own bias in a subordinate clause, or what we will call that clause, or, for the Italian examples, the che clause. For instance, let's look at our first example. I thought that he ate meat. Remember, in Italian there is a completely different conjugation system or pattern for verbs that are in the dependent that or che clause. Verbs that are tainted by the bias expressed by another verb that is subjective in nature. In this case, the verb to eat, or as used in the sentence ate. Let's take a look at this in Italian. Pensavo che mangiassi la carne. You'll notice that lui ha mangiato, or mangiava, isn't how we would conjugate mangiare for lui in this case. That is because we have to use the imperfect subjunctive tense, and it is no longer just a statement of fact, but instead now is an expression of an opinion, a subjective expression. A few other examples could be, he wanted me to speak tomorrow. Volevo che io parlassi domani. I hoped that they would arrive today. Speravo che arrivassero oggi. I would believe that we were right. Credere che avessimo ragione. It's important to note that in this lesson we are only addressing the imperfect subjunctive, or congiuntivo imperfetto, and only when we have to because of a that or che clause. We will address the other congiuntivo or subjunctive tenses and other instances that dictate their use in other lessons. The goal, as always, is to try to get a good grasp on just a little information instead of a hazy understanding about a lot of information. With the present subjunctive, both verbs, the main clause verb and the dependent clause verb, are in the present tense. So if we were saying I think, or you believe, or he hopes for an action that is in the present, we know to use the present subjunctive. Let me give you an example here. I think you are intelligent. Okay, I think is the main verb clause. You are intelligent is the K clause. I think that you are intelligent. Both are in the present tense, hence we would use the present subjunctive conjugation. We use the imperfect subjunctive when the main clause verb is in the past, usually in the imperfect, or in the conditional tense, and the dependent clause verb is either happening at the same time in the conditional or in the infinitive in English. A few other examples are: credevo che lui avesse ragione. I thought he was right. You could also say, I thought that he was right. I thought in the past he was right. Happening basically the same time. There's no differentiation between the two past. Spereremo che tu venessi. We would hope that you would come. You'll notice the main verb clause, we would hope, is in the conditional. That you would come, also in the conditional. Volevi che io andassi. You wanted me in the past to go. You wanted me to go. There's no that in English, but it's still a K clause in Italian. Volevi che io andassi. And here we have the infinitive. Okay, now let's take a look at how to actually conjugate in the imperfect subjunctive. Congiuntivo imperfetto. To conjugate the regular are verbs in the congiuntivo imperfetto, it equals che plus the optional subject pronoun, meaning io, tu, lui, lei, etc., plus the verb conjugated in the congiuntivo imperfetto equals the conjugated verb. Our example, che, or that, plus noi, our optional subject pronoun, plus parlare, to speak, minus are equals par, plus assimo, ending for we would speak, we spoke, or to speak, equals che noi parlassimo, that we would speak. Parlare, conjugated in the congiuntivo imperfetto, is che io parlassi, that I would speak. I want to take a minute here to point out, it could also mean that we spoke, or it could mean to speak. But for sake of simplicity, for all of these, I will use that I would speak, that you would speak, etc. So, che io parlassi, that I would speak. Che tu parlassi, that you would speak. Che lui lei parlasse, that he or she would speak. Che noi parlassimo, that we would speak. Che voi parlaste, that y'all would speak, and che loro parlassero, that they would speak. So you'll notice we have parlare minus the are. Then the endings are assi, assi, asse, assimo, aste, and assero. Now you're going to notice with the other conjugations, we're just replacing this first letter. Okay? So the regular er verbs in the congiuntivo imperfetto are che plus the optional subject pronoun. The verb conjugated in the congiuntivo imperfetto equals the conjugated verb. Example, che, which is that, plus noi, our optional subject pronoun, and vedere, to see, minus a ere, so now we have ved, plus essimo. If you remember, for the are verb, it was assimo. It's exactly the same, except we replaced a with a. So this is the ending for we would see, we saw, or to see. Hence, che noi vedessimo, that we saw. Vedere, conjugated in the congiuntivo imperfetto, is che io vedessi, that I saw. Now, just like with the other verb, parlare, I could have put that I would see, that I saw, or to see. And this time, once again, just for simplicity's sake, I simply put that I saw. And I will use this tense for each of these. So, che io vedessi, that I saw. Che tu vedessi, that you saw. Che lui lei vedesse, that he saw, she saw. Che noi vedessimo, that we saw. Che voi vedeste, that y'all saw. And che loro vedessero, that they saw. The first thing I want to point out is we have vedere minus ere, which is ved, and then our endings, essi, essi, esse, essimo, este, and essero. The only difference between the EREs and the AREs are this first letter. The other thing I want to point out is in the subjunctive, there may be times you want to include the io in tu, where you may not in the imperfect tense itself in Italian, because here there's no difference in the conjugation of the verb. So for clarity's sake, it could be possible that you do need the subject pronoun. Okay, now let's look at the IRE verbs. We have the che plus the pronoun plus the verb conjugated in the congiuntivo imperfetto. So we have che plus noi plus sentire, to hear, minus ire equals sent, plus isimo. Okay, remember for parlare we had assimo, for vedere we had essimo, now for sentire we have isimo. The ending for we would hear, we heard, or to hear. Che noi sentissimo, to hear. Sentire, conjugated in the congiuntivo imperfetto. Che io sentissi, to hear. Once again, I could have put I heard, or would hear. But for simplicity's sake, once again, this time I decided to go with the infinitive, so it's to hear. Che tu sentissi, to hear. Che lui lei sentisse, to hear. Che noi sentissimo, to hear. Che voi sentiste, to hear. Che loro sentissero, to hear. Okay, once again, we have sentire minus the ire equals sent. And then we have isi, isse, issimo, iste, and issero. The only difference is the first letter. Remember, we had assi, and then we had essi, now we have issi. All the way down through the bottom, where originally for the parlare it was assero, for vedere it was essero, and now it's issero. Okay, now let's see if we can apply a little of what we have learned. See if you can translate the following into Italian before the answer appears. English. I thought that he lied. Pensavo che lui mentisse. Okay, pensavo, past tense for thought. Then we have our che clause, che lui mentisse, because there's no differentiation between the past tenses. So we use congiuntivo imperfetto, che lui mentisse, mentire being your verb. They wanted me to sing. Volevano che io cantassi. Volevano, past tense for they wanted me to sing. Che io cantassi. So here's an example where it's used right here. Io cantassi, to translate into infinitive, to sing. We hoped that you would win. Speravamo che tu vincessi. Okay, speravamo, past tense, we hoped, che, that, making up the che clause, che tu vincessi, that you would win. Remember, vincere, so we take off the R and add essi. Okay. Did you believe you knew the truth? Credevi di sapere la verità? Okay, remember, I'm not sure how many of you remember, did you get this right? When the pronoun is the same in the main verb, which is credevi, did you believe, you knew the truth, is the same pronoun. We have the same pronoun in both the main verb and in the che verb clause. Then we simply put the congiuntivo in the infinitive followed by di. Credevo di sapere la verità. So we don't conjugate it when it's the same pronoun in both clauses. We just separate them by di and use the infinitive. I doubted that they would dance well. Dubitavo che loro ballassero bene. I doubted, past tense, che loro ballassero bene, that they would dance well. So here it's translated into the conditional, but it's followed once again by past tense. Dubitavo che loro ballassero bene. Well, there we have it. Congiuntivo imperfetto for regular verbs in Italian. I do hope that helped. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need to. And remember, there's more information on this topic and many, many others at iltavoloitaliano.com, always for free. We hope you visit us. Also, please feel free to look up Il Tavolo Italiano on Facebook. And feel free to like the page there and friend me, of course. And you can also, obviously, check out Il Tavolo Italiano on YouTube. Well, grazie mille. I hope you learned something from this lesson, and I hope you come visit us for more. We enjoy the fact that you study with us. Ciao, and parli italiano.